What's going on, though, fam? Back with another video. For today's video, we're going to do a Bitcoin market analysis, Ethereum analysis, as well as an update on TOSHI. So we have some really nice price chart technical analysis updates to give you guys for TOSHI. Of course, TOSHI is the #1 base native meme coin on base chain, hence why I cover it quite often. But without further ado, I'm Dope Oxide. I make content on YouTube, X, and CoinMarketCap, so be sure to follow his pages. I cover base native coins every day, do Bitcoin market analysis, as well as just general market analysis for different coin assets. So before we get into it, like and subscribe, comment down below if you guys want me to cover any other base native coins. I'm always looking for new coins to cover on my YouTube page. And also be sure to ring the bell because that really helps the channel. But yeah, so let's get right into it. So first of all, for liquidations, we had quite a bit of liquidations today. We had 470 million in total, and the late longers did get wrecked the past 24 hours, which is good to see. When it comes to the liquidation heat map, we actually have a lot of liquidations getting built up right above us, which happens to actually be, if we get to these levels, which we're actually quite close, that would mean Bitcoin makes a new higher for the short term at least. For the long to short ratio, it's starting to neutralize, admittedly, which is fine. It just means that the market is resetting, and to be honest, base case has always been the long short ratio will reset because it can't just stay this bearish for so long. It has to eventually get overheated. But it's just good to see that the long short ratio has been the longest time to be on the short ratio side since the bear market, which just shows that the majority is offside and pretty much they're not really believing this pump, which is really good to see because that just really helps our altcoins find a bottoming formation, and most likely we'll have a massive euphoric move to the upside very soon, probably in the next few months. For Bitcoin, I did mention to you guys that the 4 hourly was seeing some buying exhaustion, which usually means that most likely will actually break down to the downside. But good news is we're actually broken up above on this 4 hourly. And I did tell you guys, look, our deadline for a breakout to happen, upside to downside, is obviously dependent on time. But at the very least, within the next probably 3 days, and actually more like 4 days at the absolute maximum, that we are going to see a breakout. And I'm leaning to the upside side because generally this 4-hour RSI is a good indicator on the probabilities of a breaking out. And since we've actually seen that breakout on the 4-hour RSI, most likely we're probably going to see a retest soon, and then a breakout to the upside if this continues. And most likely because this RSI is breaking out and the momentum is shifting to the buying side and the buyers are being in control, most likely this would actually mean this squeeze is actually going to break to the upside and will break out and retest from there, which will most likely mean an all-time high is in place for Bitcoin. And if this breakout actually becomes true, most likely Bitcoin will be in an all-time high this week, and that has actually just been my base case to you guys since pretty much when I made the video on Monday. So when it comes to total coin market cap, same thing. We're just still waiting on Bitcoin. Something to note though for the total coin market cap, it's technically, let me zoom in on this. So this is the daily RSI. We're actually on lifeline support right now. Ideally, we stay above this and don't break down the trend line because that would just mean there is buying exhaustion and the sellers are starting to gain control. But as of now, no confirmation, but ideally we would like to see a uptick in Bitcoin's price in the next 48 hours, which would also mean the total coin market cap can also move up and have a really strong move to the upside because we're actually sitting on support. And as always, support is support until it's not. So good thing to note is Bitcoin will most likely break out in the next 48 hours. Obviously, don't bet on it. None of this financial advice. This is just my opinion. And I'm just relaying what I see on the charts to you guys. For Ethereum, no real updates really. I guess for Ethereum, for the 4 hourly, we're having that same buying exhaustion for like Bitcoin had 24 hours ago. But as you can see, we're still waiting on a breakout. Ideally, we just curl up, break out, and retest and go up from there. That would definitely mean the buying exhaustion has gone away and buyers are really flipping back in control. So ideally, this 4-hour RSI breaks out, which would most likely mean Bitcoin has already broken out and probably into all-time highs by then. But let's see how it goes. I think this week is going to be very important depending how we close. And I guess just to give an update as well, stock market still closed another green day. I'm waiting on the higher low. Like, obviously, you want to see higher highs, higher lows, and just more sustainable price action. But it just shows the absolute strength the stock market is happening currently right now. Even a tweet from Decojar, it just shows, look, the monthly candles have been very extraordinary. Such a deep wick, almost completely recovered in just 3 months from top to bottom. So this is the monthly candle chart, and look at that amazing wick. So this is the macro trend line we've been sitting on since the start of 2020, which is very important to hold. And we just had an absolute massive fake out to the downside. It just destroyed the bears. The bears got overly bearish, and it just seems to me, at the very least, and to be honest, my base case is now the stock market is going to have a parabolic move and most likely will fail, and then the bear market will actually begin and we actually get that true macro downtrend. But at the very least, it's looking quite bullish for stock market. We just had the absolute fake out, massive fake out, and all that's really is left, in my opinion, is a higher low, and then we can make new highs to the upside and have a parabolic move. Our next tweet is by Osemka. So we actually covered this diamond pattern yesterday, and we've actually confirmed a breakout. So this is very bullish. As you guys can see, we're broken out. We're currently above 104k right now, so we're currently around here. And looking at this fractal from I believe it was 2020 or 2021, we broke out the diamond pattern and had a massive uptick in price. So when it comes to this, it's looking quite similar, where our deadline to actually break out is in the next 2 days. So you guys can just imagine, look, in the next 2 days, we're most likely going to have that massive monster move. And if it is in the next 2 days, the chart will probably look like this, have a massive uptick in price, which will actually look quite similar to the fractal. So let's see where that goes, because if we do see that happening, we are going to hit all-time high during this weekend or even Monday next week. And very bullish. This is actually looking really great for us. Next tweet by Superbro Bitcoin. Looking for a pullback? You missed it. Steamroller. So this chart is actually absolutely amazing. We had a massive inverse head and shoulders, and we had a nice retest of the neckline, and now we're just making up our way. So when it comes to the target is generally the length of the head, and I can't draw it here, but you guys can already imagine, with the length of the head to the neckline, the target is absolutely massive. I think it's anywhere from like 250 to 300k. So let's see where that leads us, but getting very bullish, especially if we start breaking all-time highs. If we break all-time highs in the next week or so, we're going to have an absolute monster run for our base native altcoins as well as Ethereum. And yeah, as you guys can already tell from my voice, like I'm getting very excited because we're just on a really like massive breaking point right now and a massive inflection point. As you guys can already see here, we're starting to squeeze. We pretty much got within 4 days to see a result to this. Obviously, we could still like crash and ultimately go down. And if we do see a breakdown, the breakdown will probably be massive, because as you guys can see, this could potentially be the third line to our parabolic trend line. And obviously a breakdown from that is quite bearish. So ideally what happens here within the next 4 days is a breakout to the upside, and then we can go from there. Next part of the video is actually on Toshi. So Toshi, I mentioned to you guys a few days ago, Toshi is looking like he wants to consolidate and retest some previous highs, and we're getting that already. So when it comes to Coinbase chart, I did tell you the RSI for 6 hour at least was getting quite exhaustive. We had a massive bearish divergence on Toshi, so as you guys can see here, so lower high on the RSI, but higher high on the price. So we had a nice little pullback. It's actually very bullish for this pullback in my opinion, because as you guys can see here, back in April 2024, that's when Toshi had its first major like run to the upside. And as you guys can also see, in January 2025, that's when we had our run to $1 billion. And pretty much the reason why I'm so bullish is that run to 1 billion, we didn't actually get a proper retest of our previous highs. And currently right now we are. So ideally what happens here, and what I would like to see, is the RSI to cool off. We start getting some nice consolidation above our previous all-time highs back in 2024, and then have a nice leg up to the upside. So as you guys can see, the 6 hour RSI has already broken down really nicely. And if I draw it up here, it looks like we actually could be potentially flagging. So I would like to see Toshi break out of this downtrend currently right now, and then break out to the upside. Obviously, you guys might have thought I might have been bearish, because I don't know, for some reason, there's been people on my X comments saying, oh, I was bearish this whole like part of this cycle and da-da-da. Like, I've never been once at this point in the bull cycle ever been bearish. If I was to say something needs to pull back and consolidate, that doesn't mean I'm bearish. And for Toshi, it needs to consolidate. The consolidate is super healthy. I was actually excited for this consolidation, because if Toshi was to just keep going up from here, it would definitely not be sustainable, just like this run to 1 billion was. Like, it just went straight up and then straight down. If the world was perfect, Toshi would actually consolidate for a few weeks, make a new floor above our 2024 high, and then break out to the upside, make a new floor, and go up. So this run is looking much more sustainable than the run we had back in January to February. And the target is multiple billions, in my opinion, especially if base chain really pops off and Toshi stays the #1 base native meme coin. Getting quite excited for Toshi because it's just looking like, to me, the targets for Toshi will most likely get hit later on in this bull cycle, especially with the potential catalyst of Binance, OKX, Upbit, etc. Especially like Korean exchanges as well, because Koreans really like their cats. So when it comes to that, obviously there's a lot of potential catalysts for Toshi, and the chart is just looking really healthy. Like, we're getting the consolidation we really needed that we didn't get back in early January. And this just means to me this run that Toshi is going to have next is going to be way more sustainable than before, and most likely we're actually going to stay above a billion for longer than 10 minutes. I think Toshi went above like $1 billion for like not even 5 minutes or so. So ideally what we see is that really good consolidation, a breakout to the upside, and just make new floors and support and actually have a structure to the price action. So getting very bullish on Toshi. And I guess another thing as well, which I won't be surprised happens once Toshi really starts breaking out, Toshi actually has an NFT collection, and a lot of people don't actually know that. So if I go explore the NFT collection, this is the official NFT for Toshi, and as you can see, the PPs are quite nice. I actually have multiple, and I actually rep them in my Discord. But nonetheless, in my opinion, NFTs will really pop off later on in the bull cycle, and NFTs are usually just a laggard when it comes to bull cycles, really. So once Toshi hits the multiple billions range, I would not be surprised NFT Toshis probably get like above at least like the 0.3 Ethereum area. I would not be surprised they hit like half an ETH to 1 ETH. But the NFT Toshi's art is really good, and it's just, in my opinion, a potential high beta of the Toshi coin once Toshi has already ran to the multiple billions range. So it's something just to note, because even if you just want to rep and stay within the Toshi community, even just getting one is really nice, because you just rep as your PFP and just do raids and post around and make content around the Toshi ecosystem on X or Reddit. So just something good to have, because in my opinion, NFT Toshis will probably also pop off in the future once Toshi has already popped off. So that's all to the video, guys. If you guys like the video, like and subscribe. Comment down below if you guys want me to cover any other base native tokens. And that's all to the video, guys. Peace.